Hello beautiful souls, it's Caroline here. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for the recent subscribers. I believe there's been 6 in a short wee while, and though I don't know you personally, hopefully in time might get revealed. But essentially we're on this path of learning and ascension and basically questioning the narratives, belief systems, and I think it's always good to challenge our perceptions, because you never know when you'll pick something up that might just be the ticket. So that said, I just want to spend, it might just get the chime, so just clear your mind and your heart. Take a big deep breath in, focusing on the heart, and release. And again, big deep breath in, hold, and release. And again, big deep breath in, hold, and release. This is a safe space and you're very welcome here. We only bring in the highest white light, that which will help us be unveiled, be uncovered, to bring more clarity, truth, love, joy, peace, and unity consciousness. And I think unity consciousness has been severely lacking. I'm going to continue on reading about Mary Magdalene Revealed. I encourage you to buy this book, The First Apostle, Her Feminist Gospel, and the Christianity We Haven't Tried Yet. Meggan Watterson has collated this book. Now, I just had a thought entering the room. There's one story, how I came to being in possession of these feathers. Now, it was in my heart, between conversing with Divine, that I wanted some white feathers. I'm intending on making a fan of some description. And lo and behold, I went on my walk as usual, and here's a goose on my path. I felt it and it was still warm. I'll let you decide how it got there or whether it was just coincidental. But I will say, after losing my husband 4 years ago, the angels graced me. And this was obviously with, the angels are sent by God. They are biblical to comfort our hearts. And because they hear the messages between your heart and their heart, and they know when the chips are down, should we put it, and so they seek ways to comfort and reassure, especially when you've been through a very deep and profound, almost hellish experience, where you realize that hell is actually on this earth. And then you are seeking to free yourself and question how this happens, even with a connection with Divine, even with going to church. But it means Divine has always got your back. And though you may have a veil and there may be contracts, soul contracts with whom you're in contact with, there's a greater web of understanding, obviously higher. And the messages I got, even, if I went off what the church said, they would say that my husband was lost. However, he was used many a time with spirit, through the spiritual realm, to help many people. And also when he died, I wasn't expecting to talk about this. I prayed, obviously, as he was in the throes of death, that God, don't take him unless you're going to save him. And God told me very emphatically, Caroline, I loved him more than you did, even more than you. And I thought, wow, that's pretty impressive, because I know how much I loved him, but it's still a human love to a certain extent, but my soul loved him. And what followed, were many signs and synchronicities. And I was led on a twin flame journey. There were so many signs that even I was questioning myself, thinking I was going mad. And this is, of course, what people will throw at you. But oh no, my darlings, you are not going mad. I just would like to say that my content on here needs to be taken in the whole. And I can only speak from my heart and from my experience. And the comfort and that divine gives you is a commune with your heart. And often when you're perplexed, it's not when you're stressed that they will come in so much. It's more when you're calm and you're quiet, and then you will get the slow nudges from divine. And you can rely on those, because they're communing with you directly. You have a spirit team. Believe you have a personal angel that's assigned to you, and you will be unfurling your path. But we never make it per se. It's always the present moment. It's always now, isn't it? Have you noticed? It's always now. So, is there anything else, Spirit, that you'd like me to speak? There was many other thoughts that I had this morning, and I'll just wait for Spirit to give them to me at the time that's required. Now I will just mention quickly, because it's just popped in my head again, about crystals. Now many religious people deem using crystals as witchcraft. This is a complete fallacy. Remember looking in Revelations that the heavens will be paved with such stones. So I implored you to question the fear of religion and the poison that you can ingest because of a controlling religion. The other thing I would like to mention here, that I was reminded in the house, that when everything was kicking off with the event in 2020, I intuitively knew that what they were wanting to put in your body was not good. The church followed this, so much so that the pastor, or the lady, thankfully we had lady preachers, and I love them to bits, hand on my heart, but they weren't there for me at such a time, is my way of thinking, to try and help warn people. She went as far as to say that the elder of the group, the elder of the elder, that she was taking advice, from him and what he thought. And I thought to myself, have you not got intuition? Do you not have a third eye? Are you who you say you are? This isn't a judgment, folks. This is my reality of perception of what I was going through at that time. Of course, many other things have been uncurled, and also the fact that my healing is my responsibility, and that I was guided to Reiki, actually, and really I was guided to journal my thoughts, to unpack everything that I'd been through. There was many unpleasant truths. There was an unfurling. And I think, and then when I read, I was guided to read about Mary Magdalene's voice came in very strongly to me, that we're bringing back the voice of the feminines. I welcome a dear soul from India, because I see on the YouTube information, it's no longer just USA and New Zealand, it is now India. So blessings to you, and thank you very much for supporting me and encouraging me. And I desire for more feminines to be speaking, and especially from India. I believe that it's quite male dominated. I've come across worked with a few Indian men, and when I inseminate cows, and I think they struggle when I'm doing something that's, obviously it's a skill that they obviously, these ones were milking cows, that they hadn't mastered themselves, and they had to respect me. But not that I understand all cultures, but I think it's beautiful that we're all coming together like this, and unfurling our natures as well, and challenging ourselves, and bringing in peace and unity, I really hope, with all nations. I think really that is the gospel. Let's face it. It's in the temple of the heart. There will be no division. We are one with divine. Now, right, we're going on. Without further ado, we're going to be talking about the first power, darkness. What we have forgotten. I'm just going to put my reading glasses on. I thought the other day, well, why am I wearing my reading glasses? Because it just, I don't really need them, but it just sharpens it up a little bit. Right, what we have forgotten. If I could start over from the beginning, I would start with the most invisible, the threads in the web of our ecosystem that are rarely named, much less revered. I would start by listing the names of the trees, the flowers, the seeds that carry the light that gave us life, because this is what we have forgotten. This is where our reverence has not yet reached. Now this, I'm interjecting a moment because I had a profound moment yesterday. I went into my bathroom, bearing in mind I do not have trees close to my house, well, at all. On my mat in my bathroom, now I've got those Venetian blinds, and I've only got, my window can only open about that much. On my rug was a red leaf. So I looked it up, and I knew it was a message from Divine, from my spirit team, and it was about transformation, renewal, letting go. And we're coming into autumn, and we're not in full autumn yet here in New Zealand. So, it's quite, they're certainly not falling from the trees. So for me to have this leaf, I don't know how it got there, was quite profound. And like I said, I looked up the spiritual meaning of it. And yeah, I mean, maybe you'd like to look that up yourself, so back to the task at hand. I would start with frankincense and myrrh. So these are oils and essential oils that we can use, and these are not demonic. These are what healers use. With the boswellia and commiphora trees that made them, I would start with the honeybee and the sweet essential nectar it feeds on. I would start first with what goes unnoticed, with what we haven't realised is the most sacred among us. How interconnected we are, including nature and spirit world, will teach you through signs and wonders. And you are not going crazy. You are a beautiful soul and you are very loved by divine, and they will use all powers within their power. And of course, the greatest of these things is faith. How much faith do you have? Do you have a faith of a grain of mustard seed? Your unbelief. Jesus is all about that. What is harboring you with unbelief? You can keep all of this to yourself. You don't need to share it with the world. However, I feel called to do this. Sorry, interjecting again. I'm going to carry on now. I would start with the names of everyone we've excluded, of the street children, of the millions slowly starving to death in plain daylight. I would start with the outsiders, the outcasts. I would start with every one of us who thinks we aren't worthy of love just as we are. I would say each of their names, each of our names, who have been made into objects, who have been violated, who have had to survive by leaving the body altogether. Let's just pause for a moment for those people, including ourselves and the children, because the darkness has swallowed them up, should we say. And our conscious awareness to them, and we send love and light to them, that the angels will be there for them just as they are for us, to bring a healing. I would list the names of all the mothers who have known the unspeakable joy of gradually knitting life within her, of bringing life from the dark into the light. The mothers who have no idea where their heart is anymore, now that it's also outside of them. The mothers who remind us, no matter who we are, that our first country was a woman's body, and our first element was water, and that our first reality was darkness. We were created as a seed in the womb. Our home is darkness, to bring us into the light. This is obviously spiritually discerned. If I could write the beginning, it wouldn't be in the light. It would be in the womb, in the dark, in a cave, in an egg. It would be to name all that has been left out of what's holy, the blood, the body. Nothing real or imagined has ever happened without it. If I could start again, I would install an altar within me. I would place the most sacred object inside it, my own heart. If I could start again, I would know that the only cathedral I've ever needed to find, to enter, to return to again and again, is this humble red hermitage, this mystical space that holds all the answers. I would begin again inside my heart, and I would live this way, speaking from it. If I could start all over, I would begin with her. I would list all of their names first as an introduction, a forgotten lineage. Inanna, Enheduanna, Isis, Kuan Yin, Maya Shan, Mother Mary, Sarah Lakali, Thekla, Perpetua, Joan of Arc, Marguerite Porete. women that were guided with their internal compass of divine. Who religions poo-poo, should I suggest. I would start with the other, hidden half of the story, the voices that were buried in deserts and caves, and ones that were burned at the stake. Why were they burnt at the stake? Intuitive women, men and women like you and I, that spoke truths, that the powers within religion did not want you to hear, and wanted control over you. The ones that were so threatening because hearing their voices would mean letting our love reach where it has never been before. To all of us, to all of creation, to the least among us, to the trees and the flowers, to the honeybee that feeds them, to the frankincense and myrrh, to the bark and the dirt, to the land itself where the word was first spoken. If I could begin again, it would be with her love, because this is what has been forgotten. This is what we need most to remember, that she could hear him, meet him from within her own heart, that she had so much to teach us, that her love for him taught her. I would start with her love because this was the bridge. This is the bridge. This is how we move the story of what it means to be human forward. We hear from her. We hear from her about what her love made possible. If I could start again, it would be in the darkness. And in the darkness, all we would see is a hand suddenly extending out toward us. And the invitation would be terrifying. Seeing this hand would compel our hearts to start beating rapidly, audibly. The fear comes from feeling out of control. We want to leave and we want to stay in equal measure. We want to know what might happen next and for everything to remain exactly the same. Taking this hand is a choice to surrender, surrendering it all of the fear, the hurt, the anger, and the ego that created it. If I could start again, I would start with Mary Magdalene, because she is the one who remembers him, the Christ I know by heart. The Christianity we haven't tried yet. This is in Mary's Gospel. Then Peter said to him, obviously this was to Jesus, "You have been explaining every topic to us. Tell us one other thing. What is the sin of the world?" The Saviour replied, "There is no such thing as sin." Mary chapter 3, verses 1 to 3. I'm not sure, this is now Meggan Watterson speaking. I'm not sure what I was expecting when I first went to church as a little girl. Yes, I do. I was expecting the outside to be like the inside. I wanted the great big, unsayable love I felt within me to be seen or witnessed outside of me. Back then, before I felt separated from it, there was this wide expanse of love inside me, like my own private ocean. And so, I guess I was expecting for church to be this place where everyone walks around and greets each other, from one ocean to another. Their innermost self, right there on the surface, their inner world rising up from the depths for a breath of fresh air. A place where we can hang our mask at the door and just help each other be human. A place that reminded me how to be here in this world while not forgetting the part of me that is not of it. But that wasn't what it was like. I'm not a Christian, though I've baptized myself many times, like the fiery Turkish prophetess from the 1st century, Thekla, who was denied by Paul when she told him that she was ready to be baptized. She said to him, "Only give me the seal of Christ, and no trial will touch me." But he didn't think she was ready. He told her to be patient. Thecla knew her own heart, which is why I love her, and instead she cut her hair short and baptized herself. I didn't hear about Thecla until I was a young adult in seminary, where I learned that the Acts of Paul and Thecla date back to 70 AD, which makes it as ancient as any of the Gospels in the New Testament. This was the beginning of my education, or my re-education, that what I was searching for was within Christianity, but not of it. Thecla wasn't remembered as the first prophetess. Her story didn't set the precedent for the voice of the woman in the church hierarchy. It was far too filled with the truth we weren't ready for back then. Because for Thecla, salvation was something she found within her. But more about her later. The baptisms in my life, which are more accurately just ecstatic skinny dips, have come as markers when I felt like I was expressing more faithfully what's within me, when I'm no longer denying or silencing this quiet, unassuming voice inside me. I'm not a Christian, but I find myself having to make that distinction often, or that I need to make certain no one mistakes me as one. I wasn't raised religious, I was raised feminist. My great-grandmother, Big Margie, who was tiny but had a presence so large it seemed to enter the room before she did, was a suffragette. She would whisper crazy comments to me when I would sat on her lap, like, "It's fine if you want to become a wife and a mother, just make sure you get paid for it." Yes, remember about your energy, ladies, that don't let people abuse it. My mum, Margie, marched for the Civil Rights Act and for the Equal Rights Amendment, and taught me to protest for women's rights when Roe versus Wade was in danger of being overturned. I was 13 and my little sister was just a tow-headed 3-year-old. Her Planned Parenthood t-shirt came down to her knees. I was holding her hand when an elderly woman approached me, clutching a pro-life poster with an iron grip. She came right up to me until we were awkwardly chest to chest. She hated me. I felt it. It was visceral. I mean, she hated who she thought I was. She was so angry as she spoke that small beads of spit landed on my face. She said, "How many will be enough for you?" I had no idea what she was asking me. I wasn't there because I thought I would ever have an abortion again. I was there because I knew that if anything was holy, it was the relationship between myself and my own body. It was too intimate for anyone outside of me to ever shame or control. This is the biggest issue with religion too. They are so condemning and so self-righteous. That attitude has to stop. I've always felt I would have to rewrite the history of Christianity to officially become part of it. No, I would have to turn back the globe like Superman when Lois Lane dies and make certain they get the message straight from the start. Or the message, as I have come to believe in it, that we are not inherently sinful or unworthy in any way, and that we shouldn't feel shame for how human we are, or how often we break, lose faith, and make wildly misguided mistakes. Mistakes, just retake them. When I went to church for the first time as a little girl and read the Bible, I broke out in hives. I couldn't reconcile the feminism I had been raised in with the idea that God was a father, and that salvation only came through his Son, Jesus, and therefore men held this exclusive right, being the same sex as the Father, to speak on behalf of him. The body never lies, and I got a blaringly clear message written in red ashes across my skin when this was a system of belief that doesn't match what exists within me. So I left the church physically. I marched out of the First Unitarian Church of Cleveland, but the turmoil, the anger, as well as the fierce love and longing, it went right along with me. I spent my years at seminary searching through the church's history for when the women were silenced, for how the Pope happened, and all those male cardinals in red, and why a popess could not even be imagined. I searched for the stories and the voices that had been edited out or, in the case of Mary Magdalene's Gospel, torn apart and buried. I remember the first time I led a retreat about the Gospel of Mary and started with this passage: "There is no such thing as sin." We were sitting in a circle, so I could see the immediate response. Every face lit up with equal amounts of shock and excitement. "There is nothing inherently sinful about being human," I explained. "There's nothing sinful about the body, or sex, or sexuality. Being human isn't a punishment, or something we need to endure or transcend. Being human is the whole point. We just also don't want to forget or miss the mark, which is how the word for sin translates from the Greek, by mistaking ourselves and others as only this body. We are this body, yes, and all the raging humanity it demands. And also we are this soul, both." One of the women in the circle, Ger, was in tears. I knew from what she had shared during the retreat that she was from Ireland, raised religious, and that she had been sexually abused as a child. The warmth radiating from her made me fall madly in love. I'll never forget that joy beaming out of her eyes, through her tears, like headlights switched to high beams. And I can't remember if she said this at that retreat or later, when she joined my spiritual community, the Red Ladies. But it struck me because it wasn't what I had intended when I began to talk about Mary's Gospel. I just wanted to share and discuss Magdalene's teachings. But she said, "You've reminded me of the Christ I knew before I went to church." For me, finding Mary Magdalene's voice, her gospel, was like finally attending that church I had imagined church would be like as a little girl. A place where we're not trying to be better than anyone else or to be better than who we are in that moment. Everyone, no matter who we are and everything, is included, especially the body. I'm not a Christian, but I recently came across a quote from the English philosopher and lay theologian G.K. Chesterton that sums up what I have come to believe. Christianity isn't a failure, it just hasn't been tried yet. So I'm not a Christian, or if I am, it's a Christianity that we haven't tried yet, one that includes Mary Magdalene. My sentiments exactly. I will say that again. It's a Christianity that we haven't tried yet, one that includes the voice of the feminine, Mary Magdalene. It's the Christianity that existed before the church. It's the church whose doors are ripped off at the hinges. It's the Christianity that includes all that has been left out. Right, the next chapter. I will read the next one. We've gone 34 minutes, but I think we've got time. It